Mega Man, a game series that is built upon the philosophy of gameplay first, story second. Slap in the cartridge, press power, and begin the adventure of jump and shooting. It's a game. The goal is for it to be fun, to keep you entertained, to feel satisfaction when you take down whatever baddie wants to get uppity. Story was always an afterthought, and generally only found in the game's manuals, or at least the bare minimum was in an opening scene to the game. Over time though, fans wanted the story to expand. They wanted to know more, to have an attachment to the characters. Otherwise, they were just left to make up whatever they wanted about these little pixel pals, which is the Capcom's preference honestly. But in light of this demand, as the series progressed, the stories expanded, and the lore was built upon, leading to a very, very convoluted series of timelines that are either misunderstood or debated to this day. Worst of all, we have series that have seemingly ended on cliffhangers, with no closure in sight, leading the speculation of what's to come of them to fester and blossom amongst the community. One heavily questioned topic, as you might have guessed by the title of this video, is the gap between the classic and X series. While the bridge is likely never going to be properly crossed so games can continue to be made, Capcom has stated they have a plan, a concept, of what happens, and shockingly dropped up some hints in all sorts of sources. So let's dive into lore that's scattered and find some truth. What we know happens between Classic and X. During the years of 20XX, robots were plentiful. Simple task machines that made life easy for humans. With no care in the world for themselves, they just did their tasks as programmed. Scrub. Wow, look at that polished, pristine crystal pile! However, there were many other robots who were nearly human-like. They could talk, rationalize, and to a degree, make their own choice. However, they all seemed to simply disappear between the series. Where did Mega Man go? He's completely absent come the X series, without even a simple mention of him. Thanks to a lesser played game on the Game Boy, Mega Man World 2, we got a glimpse of what could happen to our hero. In that game, Dr. Wily steals a time travel device known as the Time Skimmer. With this, he's able to travel into the future and back to his present time. But he can't go back in time and prevent Mega Man from being made, so he travels far enough ahead to get an idea of what's to come, to prep a means to defeat the Blue Boy. In doing so, he discovers the world is at peace, and Mega Man has been de-weaponized, convincing his now older self, who had reformed, to do bad again. The two capture Powerless Rock, where he is taken back in time and modified into the foe known as Quint. The question is if this future is set in stone, if our blue hero is fated to turn green, or if this is just one of many possible futures to be had. A Capcom Club magazine back in 1994 had an Ask Dr. Light segment, where the question was asked. His response is that it's an inexorable situation, meaning impossible to stop. He however also refers to that time as the future Quint came from, which could be implied that it's just another branch in the timeline. Take it for what you will. So perhaps Mega Man is fated to become Quint and leave his place in time. What about the other robots? Gutsman, Roll, Dive Man, you know, everyone else? It's hard to account for everyone. While there may be many theories on, say, Proto Man or Bass, one thing we do know of is two outcomes that could play into our favorite robot masters' fates. First and foremost, the Robot Museum had on display many of these foes. Plant Man, Pharaoh Man, even Gutsman. Thanks to Wily's shenanigans later in the game, it became clear that these were not cheap wax replicas, but instead the bona fide real deal. It's entirely possible that our favorite robots are just in a cold sleep, deactivated and on stage for tourists to view. How depressing. Thanks to Mega Man 9, a new outcome is introduced, where laws are put into place to retire robots after a certain date. When these laws came about is up in the air, and why they seemingly don't apply to certain robots is also unanswered. Like, I can buy Proto Man staying under the radar so he's never brought in, but Mega Man and Roll are almost as old as he is, and he is the first of the line of robots. They should all be way past their expiration dates. But either way, the point of this is to bring up our favorite robot masters eventually joining the scrap heap by law. Robots can live forever, maybe, So it's fair that we question them and not the doctors. So while the doc's passing isn't really a shock to anyone, it is neat to see what we know they did during the end of days. You might think they would end up in a nursing home, maybe playing board games, though they tried that once and that didn't really seem to work out for them. Everyone knows Monopoly ruins everything. But rather than taking it easy in the end, the two persevered towards completing their masterpieces. Working in secret under his lab, Light, the genius that he was able to completely program a human mind. From lobes to DNA processes, he was able to make a robot that was cognitively equivalent to that of a human. During this time, he also was able to conjure up a new metal, Titanium X, which was the armor source for this robot. This creation would come to have infinite potential, and thus he was named after a variable, Megaman X. Though he feared the world wasn't ready for such a marvel, and sealed his creation away for 30 years of testing. Though complete, Light worked more on creating upgrades for this robot, should the need for combat arise. These upgrades would serve as various armor suits. Before his passing, perhaps thanks to the study and development of programming an entire brain, Light was able to either digitalize his mind, or create an AI of himself to aid his final work in the future. While Light may have believed himself to be secure in his secrecy, Wily was able to, in some manner, copy his work, be a coincidence, or the theory of spying as he has a habit of doing. After all, Wily himself doesn't actually have a good track record of actually inventing, but rather excels at modifying and improving existing devices. Don't just take my word for it. You got him stealing a time travel device that he enhanced, Proto Man, who he weaponized entirely, and heck, the only reason he can build his own combat robots is because he tinkered with Proto Man. The guy is a genius, and frankly compliments Light's work, but unfortunately his ego is just too large. Anyway, while hunkered down in the mountains, Wily was able to build a robot that was on par to Light's masterpiece. So much that it had compatible parts and the same type of cognitive function. Though this robot had issues, it would be unable to control. A true berserker, forcing Wily to seal it. How he resealed such a powerful robot, I have no idea. I can only guess he pulled some Isaac level hijinks.
なんだ体が動かんゼロ貴様のことはこのわしが一番
With this robot sealed, Wily would work on another project based on one of his old creations, a new virus, built off of Roboenza. However, Wily would pass away before he could complete this virus. Though enough of it was completed that it was able to not only affect all sorts of robots later in the future, but also to bring back Wily in some digital form. We can try and make heads or tails out of, how that even works, but whatever, it is what it is. Both doctors would complete their final works right before passing. X and Zero would lay dormant for years, while the world around them marched forward. Even with a global terror like Wily gone, it wasn't all peace. There were wars, and robots were sent to the front lines as invincible machines of war, such as this guy from X2. Yeah, he's actually that old. Heck, even Mets are still around in invincible helmets. Many years later, while out on a dig searching for plant life, the world's most gifted roboticist of the era would stumble upon Light's ruins. This robot scientist, Dr. Kane, would discover X and renew robot production with his new breed of advanced robots, the Reploids. While this is all the information that games and their associated sources have given us, which is, to many, not enough, other media have tackled some of it, with their backgrounds and overall worlds not being far departed from the games. I find it fair to take a peek at them, and if nothing else, consider what they present as an option. After all, Capcom did say they have a plan for this, but the odds of ever just seeing it in a game, very slim. So perhaps these are part of their way of telling it to us. The first one we'll look at is the novel Rockman X Irregulars Report. In this story, Kane goes into depth about his discovery of X, and the world surrounding his discovery. In an effort to prevent an advent of incidents like that of Wily, the study and theory of autonomous thinking robots became forbidden. These robots will be what many fans refer to as the Robot Masters. As a result of this, the science behind them became stagnated and forgotten. The story itself gives some insight as to why Light was building X in secret, other than, the world wasn't ready. He couldn't legally build such a robot. With the study of these robots forbidden, maintenance work would have halted, and these robots just would have succumbed to wear and tear. Another potential answer for our classic cast. A newer manga, Rockman-san, or its soon-to-be localized title, Mr. Megaman, took another jab at the end of the series. Don't let its first few chapters fool you. It does come off as a goofy story that is in no way serious to the overall plot of Mega Man. Just a slice-of-life story about purpose. Here's a time skip if you want to fly past this part, because the manga is currently making its way over here, and I will be covering some of the end chapters. I'd hate to spoil the story for y'all. The setting is after all the games, and Mega Man has been living in a time of peace where he no longer needs to be weaponized. However, basic robots have become the preferred robot of choice. This is causing the unpopular Logic Circuit robots to go without repairs, tune-ups, or even parts being manufactured for them. Humans are angry with them because they can do jobs more efficiently without tiring, and overtime laws just don't apply. Our beloved robot masters are simply being phased out. While some find new purpose in life, such as Splash Woman as an entertainer, Top Man as an influencer, or Woodman as a deity, many are just counting their days. After a series of events involving robots wanting to take a stand, many take over a space colony and set out away from Earth in search of a new home. Which, there's gotta be something out there. I mean, Duo, Ramu, and the Staroids, they all came from somewhere after all. And while the space part may sound far-fetched to some, the setting of the story very much coincides with the X novel, in the world of classic Mega Man. They even bring up the wars that occur and show the X2 ancient robot, now with a shield. The important part to note though, is the premise. These robots are feared and forced to be phased out, something that not only supports the game's foundation, but also what the X novel presented. At the end of the day, Capcom will likely never lay it all out for us. But we can, as fans, put the pieces together to figure out what they have in mind. This episode got a little dark, so I'm sorry if you came in here looking for rainbows and sunshine. Given the subject though, it's hard to avoid the downer tones. What do you think happens? Is Mega Man destined to become Quint? Is Proto Man just shut down in some jungle waiting to be found? Will Dr. Light's turkey leg ever finish cooking? Let me know below. Till next time, rock on!
Come on now. We all know that Mega Man dies after bravely playing soccer. Even if it was cut. You know that I'm right.